So you'll notice the first thing that we're checking is to make sure that the selected index for both of these is not -1. And if we scroll up just a little bit, we've got this where if we double click, it will edit the item. And that is the only way so far that we've got it set where it will actually show up if we're clicking on them. So let's go back here really quick, and we can just double click on these to open a new one. And this is when the selected index changes. So it's not opening when they actually double click on it. This is when it just changes for any reason. And the reason we want to do that is we want to store what the current lexicon and current target words are based on once the selected index changes. So we're going to need a public of type words that's going to be the current lexicon word, and that's going to be a new words. And we're going to need a public, which is another words of current target word. And that again is a new words item. With these, what we'll need to do is actually use the items that are here to save this as our current item. So basically what we need to do is we need to look up what the actual word selected is when we select a word from the list. We save that in the current version of the word we're looking at, and then we can compare. And we can even use whether that word exists in place of this up here if we wanted to replace that. But first, let's go ahead and do a lookup to how we will find the word that we're actually specifying. So let's create a quick little function for that. So we'll come up before all the buttons, and we will have a function, and it's going to be a return. So we will have a public function. It returns a word. And this will be get selected words. We'll say word singular. And it will need a string of the word name to be put in. So when we send this in, we can look through the list, and we do need to specify the list of words that we're going to be searching through. So we'll need a list words of list words, but we'll loop through those and then look for that particular word name and return that specific word for that. Again, this is just a for loop for int I equals 0, I is less than list words dot count, I plus plus. Throw that in there. And then when we reach to list words of I dot word or phrase is equal to word name that's being passed in, forgot to put if this is equal to it, then what we'll do is we'll create a temporary words here. So we'll do a words temp word is a new words, and temp word is going to be the list words at index I. Then what we can do at this point is we return temp word, and we're done with that. If nothing exists, then we will return null. Okay. So it will either return a word or it will return nothing. So when we come back down here, we can then update the selected words based on this. So the first thing we do is we check if the lbox lexicon words dot selected index is not equal to -1. Then we get the word, get selected word. Thanks for IntelliSense for remembering what I've got this called. We send in the lbox lexicon word dot selected item to string, and we send in all lexicon words. This will set the current lexicon word the way that we want it to. And then we can come up here, we can copy this, come down here, paste this, and again, update to the target word. And this will be our target words as well. And this will be our set of target words. So this will make sure that we have the lexicon word and target words selected. So in fact, what we'll want to do here is we want to go ahead and update this. So we can simply update the expression here and make sure that the current lexicon word is not equal to null and the current target word is not equal to null. If both of those are true, then we can enter into this and we'll know that we've got data. So how do we check if there's already an association? So for that, we're mapping from the lexicon over to the target. That's the only thing that we need to worry about. So we need to loop through our lexicon. So it's going to be of int I equals 0, I is less than, and this is going to be the, not the lexicon words, this is going to be the all lexicon items dot count. Then we do I++. And what we're going to be looking for is to match the item count for the word ID with the ID of the current word. In other words, we put in if all lexicon items of index I dot word or phrase ID is equal to the current lexicon word dot ID, then that means we have found a match. So that means that at this point, we can loop through the count of that items here. So at this point, we're going to do for int j equals 0, j is less than all lexicon items of index I, because that's where we found the match, dot associated words or phrases dot count j++. So we're going to loop through this, and all we're going to do is check if the associated word exists in here. Now, technically, we only need to check every other one, but because the language ID is being set to the epoch time, just as the word ID is, we can check them all. It's not going to be a big deal at this point. You can optimize this for later if you want, but essentially all we're going to do is we're going to say if all lexicon items at index I of associated words or phrases at index j is equal to the current target word dot ID, then what we can conclude from this is the association already exists. So what we'll do at this point is prompt a response to see if they want to unlink or not. So that's going to be a dialog result of result is going to be a message box dot show, and we'll put in here for the text, this word is already linked. Do you wish to unlink it? And we'll put already linked here, comma, and we want the message box with yes or no. And then we can say if results is set to dialog result of yes, then we delete the link. If not, if we don't want to link it, we can just return. We don't need to do anything else at this point from here. Now, before we actually do this, and let me correct my spelling. After all of that is done, then we're actually finished with this as well. So we can return from here. So if the association is already there and we fix it, we can just return, complete this. We don't need to do anything else. So at this point, we can come to the end of this for loop. If it gets all the way through and it hasn't returned out, it means it is not a new one. So at this point, we create a new lexicon of temp. Temp lexicon is a new lexicon. So the temp lexicon.id is going to be the form1.generateID. We'll create a brand new ID for it. The temp lexicon.language ID is going to be the dictionary of language IDs for the combo box of lexicon languages selected item to string. The temp lexicon word or phrase ID is going to be the current lexicon word.id. And finally, the temp lexicon dot associated word or phrases, we're going to add in first the dictionary of language IDs of the combo box of the combo box target languages, selected item to string, and then finally we will add in as the associated phrase the current target word. like so. So we will add, or dot ID. We'll add in the ID of the current one. So this creates the temporary lexicon ID. And now from here, we go to our all lexicon items and we add in temp lexicon. This will add it in. Then we save the lexicon. And this will get it to where we've linked it together. So all we need to do is figure out how do we delete the link. So it's basically the same thing, but in reverse. So the link already is there. So all we have to do is remove both this word and the language for it. So we put in all lexicon items of at index I dot associated words or phrases dot remove at j-1. And then we repeat the same thing. We just copy this and it will be at j. So we'll remove both of those. Once those are both removed, then we simply save this back out. So we've got the all lexicon already done. We can then save the lexicon completely. And then when this is done, we can return. And same thing after this point, we can also return at this point. So I realize I forgot to add an important thing here. This needs to have current lexicon word is going to be set to this. This down here needs to be the current target word is set to this. And I see this is in the wrong spot. So let me go ahead and copy this, delete that. This actually needs to be after this entire for loop is completed. Okay, and I forgot that we're going to need to instantiate the list as well. So temp lexicon dot associated words or phrases is going to be a new list of longs. So we need to include that in there. Now we save this. We would do better if we can actually report back when something is working and when it's not. So let's go ahead and put in a notification here. We've got the RTB display box. And so we can have the text equal to the word plus, and we'll do current lexicon word dot word or phrase plus was disassociated from, and we'll add in the current target word dot word or phrase. So we'll add that in there. And if we come down here, we can add in here and just say RTB display dot text is equal to the word plus current lexicon word dot word or phrase plus was associated with plus current target word dot word or phrase. Something like that. So this will give us some feedback. And then the only other thing that we'll want to do when we're on the lexicon side, we want to see if there are already any words associated with it. So we can just put that in here. So we can do it for int I equals 0, I is less than, and we're going to be counting through the all lexicon items dot count I plus plus. If all lexicon items of I1 with the word or phrase ID is equal to the current lexicon word.id, then we look through and find the match. So let's spell this right up here too. So we've got the right word at this point. Now let's look up any of the associations. So at this point, we go through all lexicon items of I dot associated words or phrases. So when we go through for int j equals 0, j is less than this dot count, j plus plus. then at this point, we will get the IDs of any of the words that are associated. So for the interim, just to test this, let's go ahead and just do the RTB display.text is equal to the RTB display.text plus a space, and then we'll do plus all lexicon items of subtype I associated words or phrases. And we'll do to string on this. So we will print this out and just see if there's anything that's in there. So let's run this and test it really quick. Come into here. Down to this English. And if we select over here, should see, I don't think we need to have it on both. Let's link that. So the word hello is associated with hola. Now when we've got this, it's got that there is an association already. So it doesn't clear when there's nothing there. So let's go ahead and take care of that. So the very first thing we want to do is on this, we say RTB display.text is nothing. So we'll save that. And we'll work on our next video at prettifying this, making it actually look good. But now when we're on this, if we click on hello, you can see it definitely has something in there. So it's saying we've got data. And if we come over here and select Spanish and we've got hola on there and we try to link it, it will say, hey, this is already linked. Do you want to unlink? And we can say yes, and it will disassociate. We can click again and it will associate back. And we can just continue to do that. So this part is working, and when we return on our next video, we will fix the RTB to display the data correctly. But right now we've got the associations, and the other thing that we'll do when we come back is we will also work on creating our very first flashcards that we'll be using. So I will see you then.